Welcome. Let's get started on today's project. Here are the supplies we're going to need for this project. We're also going to need the template. All of this is linked in the description. So we're going to get our circle that is 1.5 inches wide. We're using a bottle cap. If you don't have that, you can use the circles that are in our template. And we have the Snowflake templates with those as well. So we're going to start with our bottle cap and we're going to make 7 circles. Now, I like teaching gears with this activity. It's a great introduction to gears, to gearboxes, the vocabulary, how it works, the mechanism of how it works, and where we find gears in real life. Because gears really are all around us. They're in our vehicles, they're in our home appliances, they're in medical equipment, testing equipment, diagnostic equipment, and if our kids work in a manufacturing facility, no doubt gears are in those machines. So we're not just teaching our kids some STEM concepts, we're also giving them some life skills because one day they will have a car to maintain, they may have some appliances to maintain. And today's video is brought to us by SkillTrek. They are a family-friendly program that ensures your kids won't have any major gaps in essential life skills. They have a huge library that's filled with bite-sized lessons that cover topics like managing a household budget, basic home maintenance, car maintenance, first aid and safety, housekeeping, hygiene, and really the list just goes on and on. This is for all ages of kids with over 450 hands-on lessons. Your kids will learn everything from daily chores to lifelong abilities. And SkillTrek wants to help your kids become confident, capable young adults. So visit skill-trek.com and use coupon code SCIENTIST to save 20%. So now that we have all of our circles drawn, we're going to go ahead and just cut them all out. And we're going to end up with 7. We're going to put one to the side for the optional handle at the end. So we're going to take and glue together 2 sets of 3 circles, and these are going to be our gears. You can use tacky glue, you can use school glue, or you can use hot glue gun, which is what we're opting to use here. And we put 3 together because it gives us a very sturdy gear. We've tried using it with 1 and with 2, and it just did not work as well. So we'll get those put together, and we're going to set those aside to let them dry and set up. So we're now going to work on the actual box itself. These are from the dollar store, and you'll find these in the gift wrap and party section. They may be on an end cap. They also have these cardboard craft boxes that are found in the craft section. They are a heavier cardboard, so you will need a heavier scissors or some sort of cardboard cutting utility knife to do these. We're going to start with the gift box. We're going to take the top off. We don't really need that. And as we show in our sample here, the first thing we're going to do is cut out that little viewing window so we can easily see the gear mechanism beneath and how it's working. And what we want to do is come in about 1 inch on either side and then 1.5 inches up and cut out that window. Next, we want to go ahead and prepare the top of the gearbox so we can get that top shaft that comes down. And we want to get a hole in the middle of that top, and you can either eyeball it or have your students precisely measure the middle. We ended up kind of eyeballing ours, and our hole is, we use a screwdriver. You can use a metal skewer, and the way this will work is we'll have a straw and we'll put the skewer down the center, that shaft down the center. but we need to make this hole a little bigger. And for our straw, we discovered that a ballpoint pen works well. We kind of work it in there. You could try a pencil. It's going to depend on the size, the diameter of that straw. So we want a nice fit in there, a nice tight fit. We will end up gluing that eventually, but we're also going to cut the straw down right now and make it a little bit easier to work with, and we'll probably cut it down a little bit more later in the project. So now we need to get our other shaft that runs from left to right, that runs horizontally, and we're going to do that again by, we're going to find the middle of that side, and then we're going to come up about an inch from the bottom. So it's not going to be exactly in the middle. We're going to only come up an inch from the bottom, and we're going to poke a hole with our um, screwdriver, and then we're going to do it on the other side so we can feed that wooden skewer in there and get that shaft. So let's get our gears again. We've got our two wooden skewers that will be the shaft in our gearbox, and we're going to cut off some of that bulk. It's just going to be easier to work with right now, and eventually you can also cut those down even more once everything is in place. Next, we want to find the middle of each of those gears and mark it, and then we're going to work the shaft into each. And this is going to be our top shaft. And you barely want to make it through those three and just poke a hole through there and let the skewer just peek through it. And we're going to put it up through the straw. The second shaft, you need to feed it a little bit further onto the skewer. We're going to feed the skewer through the right side into the inside of the box, slip that gear on, and feed it through the hole on the opposite side. And we're going to put our gears into place with the two gears barely touching. You do not want the wooden point from the top gear to get caught in the gear on the bottom. You may have to adjust it. So we're going to cut that top straw down a little bit more. We don't need that on there. We don't need that extra piece. So feed it down in there. And in a little bit, we're going to actually hot glue that straw in place to give our gear mechanism a little strength. But right now, we're going to go ahead and cut the wooden skewer down. You can opt to do that or not. And we'll attach our two sides of our snowflake, whirling snowflake to that. Okay, we're going to hot glue the straw shaft in place. Again, that'll give us some stability and keep the top gear from wiggling around so much when we turn it. So let's talk a little bit about our gearbox here. A gearbox is a transfer of mechanical energy. So we have our two shafts, which are our wooden skewers, and then our two gears, which are our two sets of cardboard circles. And we turn the one shaft, and that is called our input shaft, and it receives the initial power. Typically, there's a motor attached, but we're just using our hands. We're just using our hand power, and we turn that, and the energy from that is transferred to the output shaft, and that is the shaft that is coming down from the top of the box and turning the snowflake. In later lessons, we're going to talk about gear ratios and we will build some gearboxes. But for now, this is our basic concepts that we're starting with. Now, you may have to adjust the gears as you spin them. They may move a little bit and shift. So you may have to adjust them to free them up to continue moving. Now we have an optional handle you can make with that 7th circle, and we took a little piece of straw and cut it down, and you can see we've glued it to that circle. We've cut down the wooden skewer, we've poked a hole in that circle, and now we're feeding it onto that shaft. Next, we'll hot glue that in place to make it a little more stable. And now that is all set.